Hey, welcome back. We have a knife here. I am not 100% sure which one this is. In fact, I'm 0% sure. I don't know which one it is at all. Let's take a look. Traveled not too far from California. That's the Demco 8020.5. Just the basic Grivery Aus 10A version. I've now made that my dedicated box opening knife. My daily carry is my G10 one. Super fancy, I know. Let me just take it off screen real quick, make sure no private information is exposed. Oh, cool. I just unboxed one of these today, in fact. Did not realize that this was coming, and I'm glad it did. So I think this is going to be the same as the one that I unboxed today. A buddy lent me this other one, and lo and behold, this one gets here in the same day, of course. It looks like it's the same model. But I guess someone decided this wasn't the knife for them, and I haven't seen many of these hit the market, that's for sure, but here's one of them. Is that a Divo cleaning towel? Doesn't say anything on it. I don't know. Don't know if that's how they came or not. So when I did this one before, it was amongst a whole bunch of other knives. I didn't get to really focus on it too much, so it's kind of cool to get to unbox this one. This one is probably a little less used than the other one, although I think the other one was new in box. It felt almost too good to be new in box, so I had to feel like skeptical, like it had been played with or something, but I think I was told it was new in box. But anyways, this is the Divo Mash. This particular one is the bead blast tie with satin blade finish. You can get this in like a, I can't remember the term that Divo uses, but black wash finish also, or something like it. But really like this satin look here. Looks great. Gosh, I guess these things are just good. I'm really surprised someone decided to sell this, you know, for $136. Let me just see if that's as perfectly dead center as I think it is. For 136 bucks, you're getting a tie frame lock. No, tie, it's not even a frame lock. It's a tie liner lock knife. It's 14C28N, so nothing really to write home about, but it's also a good blade steel. That's like a good middle grade blade steel, and it's drop shut. A nice little pocket clip that'll work just fine. You can get aftermarket pocket clips for it. Go throw a lynch clip on there, whatever. I'm just impressed with this knife. Look at that thumb flick on a, it's not a big finger choil, right? You can only get a little bit of purchase there, and that's all it needs. I didn't even try hard on that one. You can throw your thumbnail in there too, and it's even easier. But I'm just throwing the meat of my finger in like that and getting the deployment. Of course, now I can't do it. The action is not like snappy. My buddy said he compared it like that it actually competed with the Roosevelt, and I do think it competes with it in terms of action, but what does it remind me more of? Koenig Arius is actually what it reminds me more of. It's not quite as loud on the snap as the Koenig, and it's not quite as drop shut, but that's what it reminds me the most of, is like a smaller Koenig. And I like the size a lot more, to be honest. The other crazy thing on this is the effective cutting edge of the blade is just really good. Like, for its size, look at the handle length of the Demco, and I'm really putting this up to this part. If you could argue, you know, this goes here and it's still not as long on the cutting edge, but if you kind of do this more in the effective starting point, we'll maybe even go belly to belly here. What's kind of blowing me away about this knife is the effective cutting edge is so long for its size. I'm really curious what this weighs. I'm gonna guess it's about 4 1/4, but it could be lighter. How about 4 1/4? How about 4 1/4? Let's go for it. Go with the gut on this one. 3.86. It is lighter. That's a really nice weight for what it is. Because that's probably like a 3.5 inch blade. 3.25, 3.5. Let's see. So blade length, you're just over 3.25. Effective cutting edge, 3.25. I mean, that's freaking good. Total length, tip to tail, 7.625 or so. And I don't know if I can really illustrate enough how good that action is, but it's really nice. Yeah, I'm really shocked someone decided to sell this. It is just a really nice knife for the money. Like if you decided to buy this knife, right? You're not buying this knife if you're looking to compete with a Rockstead or compete with a Rosie, right? You're not buying this knife to compete with those. You're buying those knives. This knife maybe is a carry knife, or, you know, maybe you're a collector, but you're not expecting this to compete with those knives. So I don't really know what the reason was for the seller to let it go, because I really am impressed with it. Maybe this just isn't their style. I could, you know, it's definitely not an ergomaniac. It's very, what I would call very flexible, and it's comfortable. Like, I don't get a lot of hot spot, maybe a little bit on the pocket clip. It's a little tall. If they made an aftermarket pocket clip, which I feel like I saw maybe they did, or they said maybe something would work on it. Of course, you know, with lefty EDC at the helm at Divo, that's reversible, and it's reversible in a really nice way. I like how the finish is on the non-clip side. Oh man, it's just there's nothing wrong with this thing. It's a really good knife. Very hard to beat for 136 bucks. I really like the hollow grind on it too. I meant to say that when I was checking it out. That is a really nice hollow grind there. Take a look at that. They're kind of hard to show, but if you do it just right, you can kind of tell. Sometimes if I get the lighting right on it, you can tell better too. See how it kind of rounds out? Whereas on a flat grind, you're not going to see a round shadow come across it. Just going to see a progressive shadow. It's really cool. I'm glad I got my hands on this. Now, if I had any criticism for it, which I don't have much, but maybe do a little something to make it look a little cooler. That's really all I can come up with. Super minimalist in the packaging. I felt like the Divo Stout was a little overpriced. I think in my first unboxing I said I'd rather the knife cost less than not have all these extras. It is a cool knife in that they give you all the stuff you need to maintain the knife for a long time. But I'd rather that knife cost less than it does. This one feels like lighter. The Divo Stout was like 4.5 ounces, and my other criticism was a little too big for, a little too wide for like really being super comfortable in the carry. It's fine. I've carried it. It's not bad, but let's pull it out. It is definitely one of my favorite knives of the last year in terms of like value and stuff. I do think this is still good, which really speaks to what I think about it. I do think it's a very good knife. But this one even is the next level, I think, on value. I think this is a really good knife for the money. The knife that really comes to mind on this is, I feel like this is what we all wanted something like this to be. The Rockwall. And they're coming out with the Maverick right now, so, they'll have a chance to redeem themselves a little bit. But I think this is a perfectly flawed knife, is the way I like to describe it. It's a little too small. It's a little hard to get to the... Dude, I just did it again. I caught myself on this one yesterday right here. It's just perfectly flawed. It's great. Don't get me wrong. I have like 6 or 7 of them. I did finally just let one of my flippers. I had 3 flippers. I like them so much. I let one of my friends buy one today. Actually, the guy that lent me the other one of these. But I feel like this is in a lot of ways what we want this to be, because it's a little wider. So it's a little, bigger in hand, for typical adult male in the United States. I feel like this thing's a little small. It's really a nice, take it out to dinner or gentleman's kind of knife. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot to love about this. I'm a big tactile fan on a lot of levels. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like in a lot of ways, this thing does what we kind of want that knife to do. It's sort of the next size up. It doesn't have quite the satisfying ting that this does. Like, it's a little more muted in the action. However, that kind of makes it nice in a way where it's a little less aggressive. It's a little more like, this thing is, I don't feel bad pulling out at a dinner party because it's nice looking stuff, but then you do this and it's like, whoa, did that guy just like open a switchblade? My brother actually asked me if it was an automatic the first time he heard it pop open. Which is cool. But anyways, I feel like there's a lot of what we want from this here. A lot of the things that aren't right about this knife, I feel like this knife takes care of. I like the blade shape. I like the thumb hole. I like the size in the hand a little more. Just a lot of good things about this. Now, that's a Magna Cut American-made knife for 300 bucks. It's also not a bad value. But that knife for 136, Chinese made, just impressive. The other thing about this one is it's a little less drop shut on the tactile than here on this this new Divo Mash. 14C28N, great stainless steel, good all-around steel. Doesn't have the edge retention of a Magna Cut this is 20 CV on the Divo, but it's not meant to, right? We're talking about a price point where you're not looking for Magna Cut. Now, one of the things I found on the Divo Growler was that the detent was a little light. And I'm trying to figure out if the detent is similar on this, but we don't have the issue that we had on the Growler and I'm just trying to duplicate it where your finger gets stuck in it when you're trying to pull it open because the thumb hole is so big. Or if this thing is just all around better. I don't know which it is exactly. I don't know if they're made in the same place. I think I remember him saying that it was not made in the same place. Here's the Growler. Let's pull that out also. Let's do the whole Divo family. But that was one of my criticisms here, was the failed deployment was, pretty common like that, like I just showed. Just didn't end up being my favorite knife of what Divo's done so far. The rollout's great. If you don't mind just doing it, if you're looking for a rollout, it's actually really, really good for that. Really nice for that. So there's a place for this knife. Don't get me wrong. I have a style. Everyone has a style. I try and be objective, but I certainly have opinions. And sometimes I say, this is good, this is bad. And what I probably should be saying is, I think this is good, or I don't like this. That's a more appropriate way of positioning it. My wife certainly reminds me when I do that incorrectly. And this is what I was actually just checking for. So you saw I missed it because I want to see if I went light. I think the detent on this thing is just really nice and strong on the stout. I do love that knife. The action on that, this thing's just sort of right in between these two. It's really interesting. Divo is such an interesting company. I just think it's so unique. Not just the people involved and sort of their backgrounds, but what they've done so far with their first 3 production knives, and how look at the 3 of them. They're like, you literally, this is like the evolution of the knife in one direction or the other, depending on what your opinions are. Like, you either go super cheap and evolve up to an expensive knife with that style, or you go super expensive and evolve into a super efficient, bigger knife with this style. Like, it's actually really kind of cool if you think about it, what they've done here. I'm trying to remember if this one's 14C20 and also if there was a different blade steel. I remember it's maybe not written on here. But I'm trying to see if it's in the liners or something. Anyways, really interesting company, doing some really interesting things. That thing always has a really fun sound with the satin grind on it. Sounds like it's whipping air when it opens up, if you get it right. But yeah, it's fun looking at these and kind of thinking about how the three, $85 knife, I don't know what the MSRP is on this, but I think it was $136, $299. You can get that with the micarta for a little bit less, but $299 on the fat carbon. Then I dropped another couple bucks on the on the black carbon, and the Timascus he gave me as a gift, so that was appreciated. Very cool. I'm excited to have this one. I'm glad it frees up my buddy to have his back. Now, what would be kind of cool here would be, let's compare the two and just see if we see any differences, since I happen to have two that are both, I think, brand new. That's a fun little experiment to see what the QA is like. Why not? When in Rome. So let me get the growler out of the way here and go grab my buddy's mesh here. Let's keep everything separate. Make sure his is going to be on the bottom and mine's going to be on the top, in case I need to go back to this later. Okay, this one's a little more drop shot. I, again, don't know if this one had more time on it before it got to me. But you can see this one requires a little more action, and I'd say the detent's maybe a little lighter on it. This is my totally unprofessional detent test. But I feel like my detent might be a little bit lighter. Pretty similar. But the drop sheddiness on this one is a little better. Again, not knowing if there's some use on it or something like that that could be affecting it. The other one, though, I did get on the secondary market because I did miss this drop. So this one could also have some use time on it. So I have to disclose that neither of these are brand new from the factory. Both of these did go on the secondary, or this one's secondary market, and that one is buddy shared it with me. So there is possibility of manipulation or whatever. I would just say generally both of these are within a few days of the time that they shipped, and we're probably not going to see a huge variance in that time period. No one probably unscrewed anything or did anything with them. So I think they're pretty representative of new knives. But good to be as honest and open and disclose as much as I can, so you can make your own decisions and form your own opinions based on the right data. Perfectly centered on that one. God, that thing is so drop shut. And this one might be like a touch, just a touch over to the show side. It looks pretty freaking centered. That's close enough to just call it centered, if not centered. Great knife, great knife. And it's not like, I'm not telling you to go sell everything. This is the knife you need. As good of a knife as it is, that's not what I'm saying here. This is me saying, if you want the best value tie frame lock in this style that I can think of, and I'm sure there are some better ones, but don't get me wrong, I haven't used every knife out there. This thing is just a real pleasure. This would be just a great knife. Like for an EDC, this is just a great EDC knife. Because you're not going crazy money, but you're getting tie It's not a frame lock. Did I say frame lock? I meant liner lock. And I really want to emphasize that they're not the same because I really prefer a liner lock. Now look at that. That is interesting. The lockup is a little bit different on these two. So the mine is a little further over than this one. The one that's a little drop shuttier. So that might be something that could even just be adjusted. I don't know. Maybe my buddy even adjusted his for all I know. So hard to say. But you know, that would certainly make a difference in the drop sheddiness. Did feel it there. I do feel every once in a while I get like a little bit of a light detent feel, and I don't know if it's that I'm pushing it over away from the detent ball and that lightens it up. No, it doesn't seem to make a difference. Every like 5 flicks I get one that feels a little bit like a light detent scenario, where I don't load up as well as the other ones. But you can see I think I've only failed this maybe once since I've been doing it, aside from my thumbs. You know, it's not as, it just took me a sec to figure out you can basically treat it like a thumb stud and just blast it out of there. You just push your thumb up against that part right there and it just pops right out. So anyways, I feel like I'm getting into rant mode a little bit. In conclusion, great job. I think they may do a second run of these. I'd have to double check. Maybe I'll try and throw that in the comments or in the description or something. But yeah, really impressed with this. And shout out to Divo for doing a really good job with this. This is really cool. So putting these over towards each other's respective sides, so I make sure the correct ones go in the correct directions. Not that it makes a huge difference. These are the exact same knives for the most part, but my buddy's is a little drop shuttier. All right, hope you enjoyed that one. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what I missed. If you know what manufacturer did these, throw that in there. I can ask Kevin, but I think it'd be cool for you all to, you know, share information you know about these. So please do. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that. I will see you on the next one. Take care.